Hi, welcome back with another movie explanation. Today, I'm going to explain a romantic drama movie called Labor Day. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. The film opens with Adele, a woman whose husband has left her, and she lives with her son Henry. She is a single mother. One morning, Adele takes her son Henry in her car for shopping. On the other side, Adele's ex husband has married another woman, and he has children with her. Henry goes to his father's house on weekends. Henry takes care of his mother, Adele, very well. While shopping for pants in the supermarket, a man named Frank approaches Henry. Frank was injured, so he asks Henry if he can help him, but Henry tells him he can't. Frank asks him who he came with. He tells him that he came with his mom. Frank goes to Adele with Henry and asks her to drop him somewhere. She tells him she won't, but Frank threatens her that he would hurt Henry. Adele helps him out of fear. After this, they go out and get into Adele's car. Frank tells Adele to take somewhere where he can rest for a while. Adele asks Frank how he got injured. Frank tells her that he was in jail and he was about to get an appendicitis surgery, but he escaped from the hospital before the surgery. Adele takes Frank to her house. Frank tells Adele that he'd never hurt anybody in his life for selfish reasons. Frank tells her that he will help her with the chores in the house and he will fix the problems in the house for her. Adele warns him if he did something to hurt them, she will call the cops. Frank tells her that he just escaped from the prison and doesn't want to go back. Frank promises Adele that he will behave well. After this, they see the local news. In the news, it is shown that a prisoner has escaped and running loose in the town. In the next scene, Frank tells Adele if the cops found out if he gave me shelter, you'll be in a problem. So, I will tie you up and you can tell the cops I tied you up. Adele agrees to get tied to a chair. Frank starts cooking food. He is a good cook. He goes into the kitchen with Henry. After cooking the food, Frank feeds Adele because she is tied up. While feeding her, he asks her what time the train arrives. She tells him that the train arrives in the station in the morning. Frank thinks of leaving them and running in the train. When Henry goes to his mother's room to see how she is doing, Henry sees his mother tied to the bed and Frank sleeping on the floor. The next morning, while having breakfast, Henry asks Frank how he escaped from the hospital so easily. Frank tells him that the guard wanted to go out for a smoke. I told him if he goes out to smoke, he will escape, and the guard thought it was a joke. But Frank escaped for real. Frank unties Adele, and Adele asks him why he didn't tie her up today. He tells her that I have tied you once. If the cops ask you, you can tell the truth, and that's enough for me. After this, Frank doesn't hear any sounds indicating the arrival of a train, so he starts working around the house fixing things. Frank also repairs Adele's car. Frank asks Adele why the train didn't come. She tells him that it's a Labor Day weekend and no train will come to the station for a couple of days. Frank decides to stay with them for a couple of days. While he's in their house, he didn't want to be a burden on them. He cleans the house and becomes a help to Adele. He even teaches Henry how to throw a ball. Someone knocks at the door. Frank hides in the house and tells Henry to open the door. Henry opens the door and it is their neighbor at the door. He came to give them peaches. The neighbor asks Henry where his mother is. He tells him that she is taking a bath. Before leaving, the neighbor warns Henry that a prisoner is loose in the town and be careful. He tells him not to open the door for strangers. After this, Adele tells Frank that she doesn't want Henry to tell lies. She doesn't want to teach him telling lies is a good thing. Frank agrees to it and tells her he will make Henry tell lies again. The neighbor had given them a lot of peaches, so Frank tells him that he will make a pie with them and teaches Adele how to make a pie. Henry, Adele, and Frank make a pie together. In the night, the cop searches the neighborhood for Frank. Seeing this, Frank tells Adele that he will leave in the morning, but Adele tells him not to leave and asks him to stay for a few more days. The next morning, while changing Adele's car tires, Frank teaches Henry how to change the tires. In the next scene, their neighbor woman comes into the house without permission. Frank hides from her, and Adele takes her out of the house to talk to her. The neighbor woman asks Adele if she can take care of her son because she is going out and can't take him with her because he is physically challenged. Adele hesitantly agrees to take care of the neighbor's son. After a while, Frank teaches Henry and Barry, the kid in a wheelchair, how to play baseball. Adele was looking at Frank, so he teaches her how to bat. Their day goes well, and they are occupied to do something. In the night, all of them watch TV, and the news about Frank comes up on the scene. Barry sees it, and when his mother comes to take him back to home, he tries to tell her that Frank is hiding in the house. He couldn't speak properly, so he can't tell her. After this, Adele and Frank plan to leave the town together. They think of taking Henry with them, but Henry thinks that they will leave him in the town with his father. In the next scene, Frank explains to Adele how he was framed for a murder he didn't do. Adele tells him to go to trial and prove you are innocent, but he replies, "No one will ever believe me." After this, Henry goes to his father's house on the weekend and he comes back in the night. Adele tells him that you plan to leave the town and go to Canada with Frank. After this, Henry asks her if he will ever see her again. She hugs him and tells him that the three of them are going to Canada. The next morning, they all pack their things to leave town and go to Canada. Henry writes a goodbye letter for his father and puts it in his father's mailbox. While returning home from his father's house, a cop stops his car and tells Henry to get in and he will drop him at his house. Henry gets in hesitantly. After dropping Henry at home, the cop sees Adele packing all the things in her car. He thinks it's suspicious, so he asks her if she's going somewhere. She tells him that we are going out on a trip, but the cop doesn't believe her and looks around the house for anything suspicious. He searches the house and leaves after a while. Frank sees all of this from the first floor. After the cop left, Frank tells Adele we have to leave as soon as possible. Adele and Henry go to the bank to withdraw money. Adele withdraws all the money from her bank account and goes back to the house in the car. On the other side, the neighborhood woman comes into Adele's house to give her the pie she baked. She sees Frank in the house and asks him who he is. He tells her that he's the person hired by Adele to repair the house. The woman leaves. Henry and Adele come back as soon as they reach the house. Henry's father calls him and asks him where he is. Henry's father is worried because he read the letter that Henry put in his mailbox. After all of this, Frank tells Adele that they must leave town as soon as possible because the people around them are getting suspicious about Adele. Meanwhile, they hear the sound of a police siren, and Frank realizes that he won't be able to escape, and starts to tie Henry and Adele so that the cops would think that they didn't have anything to do with Frank. Before the cops came, Frank tells Adele that he loves her and the time he spent with her was special for him. The cops come to Adele's house and they arrest Frank. In the climax, Adele goes to a prosecutor to ask him help to get Frank out of jail, but the prosecutor tells him that it will be a problem for her and Henry if she did that. Adele writes a lot of letters to Frank, but Frank doesn't receive any of it because he's being transferred. After a few years, Henry starts to go to college. All the things that Frank taught him seems to be useful. He makes a new girlfriend in college. After a few years, Henry gets married. He opens a bakery. The recipe Frank taught him is the main attraction in his bakery. Frank sees Henry's picture in a magazine and writes a letter that he's proud of him. The day Frank was released, Adele goes to meet him and they hug. They be with each other after this. The film ends here. Subscribe for more videos like this. Turn on notifications and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to let me know how you feel about today's video in the comments down below. Stay safe and never forget, you are awesome. You